Hello everyone, I am Jim Slezinski. I am the senior landscape designer and horticulturist with Goldner Walsh Flower and Garden. We've been doing the library work for over 25 years plus, and it's a real joy to do the gardens here. It's a pleasure actually, because I get to enjoy, and so does all the public, get to enjoy things that are growing here on this campus. There's 13 signature gardens here, a lot to see if you walk around. You can walk around anytime to see the gardens. My background is I have a Master of Science degree in landscape horticulture from Michigan State University, and I've been with Goldner Walsh now 50 years. It's hard to believe, but anyway, come here and enjoy the plants, and I'm sure you'll see some things. You can always call in to Goldner Walsh if you have questions. The library will have brochures available on all the gardens here with descriptions of the plants and some photographs as well, and they're free to the public, so just wanted to make you aware of that. So enjoy your walk, and hope you all have a great day on Saturday. Thank you. Good morning. Here we are at the Bloomfield Township Public Library, and we're at the entry garden, which is the Friends Garden, and all around we have a lot of colorful plants, things that have Asian connotations. The idea in this design, which was done at the renovation of the library in 2008, was to have the look of an Asian forest, and we have many Asian type plants that are all hardy and can grow very well here in Michigan. We have Japanese painted ferns, we have many hostas, and some of the great trees that we have around. We have the Emperor 1 Japanese maple with the red foliage, and the two trees beyond are the tiger bark Acer Japanese type maple. We have plump bamboo, and we have some beautiful foliage on the Virginia, the large leaf here, which is evergreen and turns red in the fall. And a beautiful highlight are the Japanese forest grasses, the golden colored grasses here that are all along the walkway as you enter. So there's a bold effect with the big foliage, and there's a very nice contrast with the fine texture of the Japanese forest grasses, the golden forest grasses. The tree at the entry here, just behind the flagpole, is the golden chain tree, and this is very exotic, has long clusters of yellow flowers, a little bit earlier in the spring than we are now today. But the garden is good year-round here. In the spring we have spring flowering bulbs, and in the fall there's fall color to the foliage, and it's really quite a nice approach, I think, as you enter into the library. And we also do a large planter that's as you enter, and that changes with the season also, and it tends to be coordinated with what we have growing in the gardens. We always plant annuals for a touch of color. We do a lot of the New Guinea impatiens, and we do some balsam impatiens and coleus. And we do have a deer situation here on the property at the campus here on the library. So we try and tend to use plants that the deer will not touch, especially in some of the other gardens. But here it's kind of safe. It's kind of a microclimate. It's a little bit more mild here, so you may see tulips flowering here in the spring that you won't have at your home, because it's a little bit warmer in this kind of microclimate area here as you enter. enjoy as you enter the library. I just wanted to point out a couple of these plants here at the Friends Garden at the library. The very nice Japanese forest grass. You can see the nice fine texture, the way it mounds, and this is the golden form of the Japanese forest grass. Acanoclea is the botanical name. And then we have a low spreading evergreen yew called Emerald Spreader. It's a very, very nice texture, the dark green foliage year round, and it's a great ground cover for the shade, a real great ground cover for the shade. The interesting bark on the tiger stripe maple, we have two of them here, and you can see the white stripes. They're more intense during the winter time when there's no foliage on the trees. And then we have a clump of the bamboo, the hardy bamboo, Fargasia, in the side here. And that is a bamboo that does not run. Some of the bamboo plants will spread everywhere, and this one stays in a clump. It doesn't get as tall, but it's very beautiful texture with the fine foliage and the long canes. And also along the whole perimeter of this length of garden, we have a dry stream which is made up of Mexican black pebbles, the river rock. And as the water comes off the stoppers from the roof of the library here, it falls down onto this area and creates a stream during rainy weather. So it's a real interesting place. We also have boulders placed around to give it a very natural effect. Here we are at the newly established garden at the Bloomfield Township Library. This is the rain garden, and this area at one time was lawn with this rubrum or red maple clump, and it was constantly saturated with water off the roof, and it couldn't go anywhere. So we developed this rain garden with a lot of plants. There's hibiscus, astilbe, and some of the wildflowers. This is a very interesting plant. This is called the cup plant, and it has yellow daisy-type flowers in the middle of the summer in July. Very interesting plant. It's about 9 feet tall. The goldfinch birds love the seeds that are produced from the flowers, and it has a very unique square stem. So you can come up and look at this plant and just admire the square stem of this plant. There's also cattails that have developed. They just came here and evolved naturally. And there are some ferns and grasses, but it's a big improvement, and there's a lot of color here, and it remedied the situation with the swampy lawn that was here all the time. Yes, and here we are again, and we're just about at the entrance to the library, and we have Linda's Circle Garden here, which is a memorial garden for one of the past trustees of the library. But the Circle Garden changes from time to time. We have some crimson pygmy barberry in a hedge globe shape. And the very interesting center tree here is called the Seven Sun Flowering Tree. It has this great white bark, and it has a cluster of very tiny, fine white flowers in September that's fragrant just like jasmine. It's a very unique tree. Later in the season, it has seed heads that look like burgundy clusters of hydrangeas. It's a very unique tree, and it's relatively new to this country. It originated in China, and it was introduced through the Arnold Arboretum in Boston. The planters that are around the circle were provided by Goldner Walsh Garden and Home in Pontiac, and they are changed for the season with different flowers and different arrangements for the winter. are at the relatively new garden at the Bloomfield Township Public Library. This is the Virginia Smith Bird and Butterfly Garden. It's a fabulous garden. We have trees, we have shrubs, we have perennials and annuals that all are here to attract birds, butterflies. We have plants that attract the hummingbirds, both perennials and annuals. We have some of the shrubs, the laburnums, the Sargentine crabapple, that will produce fruits and attract birds during the fall and winter. And many of the flowers will attract butterflies. Yes, the butterflies are attracted to many plants here. The liatris, or the blazing star, with its spiky purple flowers, those are very nice during the summertime. And we put in kufiyas, the cigar flower, those attract the hummingbirds during the summertime, as well as salvias. Now, all the different salvias, which are generally annuals, but there are some perennials here, the salvias are great because the hummingbirds love them. And the other nice thing about salvias, the deer will not eat them. They are deer resistant. So that's a great thing that we have here. In the winter, there's some coverage with the junipers, the Calgary carpet junipers keep a real dark, rich green color through the winter. And again, we have bulbs here in the spring. We have loads of daffodils, and again, the daffodils are deer resistant. The deer will not eat daffodils. I always tell people that if a deer will start eating a daffodil, it's their last meal. Back at the Bird and Butterfly Garden, this was a memorial garden that was set up by the son of Virginia Smith, who was a trustee of the library and a long-time known person here on the staff at the library. The tree behind me is the center point of the Bird and Butterfly Garden. This is the tricolor beech. It's a European beech tree that has 3 different colorations to the foliage, and it's a very exotically colorful tree during the growing season. It's a big tree, it's a nice specimen tree for a lawn, and it's colorful all summer. Again, there are some of the very nice plants that are here to attract birds and butterflies. The penstemon behind me with the purplish flowers is a great hardy plant that the deer will not eat, but the hummingbirds will be attracted to it. It's a great magnet for the hummingbirds. And along the base here, you can see some of the Calgary carpet junipers, the evergreens that are here to give some body to the border of this bed during the winter time. Here we are along the safety path leading up to the library entrance, and this garden is based on an English cottage garden or a wall garden, and there are perennials, annuals, and bulbs planted here. Daffodils in the spring. It's a daffodil, really beautiful design with many, many daffodils. Of course, as I mentioned, the deer will not touch the daffodils. And we have other plants here that the deer will not touch. The big bushy plants here are the baptisia, the false indigo, and we have some grasses. This area is very colorful most of the year. We wait for the annuals, which will be at their peak about the middle of July. Beyond, we have the youth terrace, and that is another garden, and you can enter that garden through the library. And we have many different shrubs. We have oak leaf hydrangeas, we have panicle hydrangeas, we have some witch hazel trees that are very colorful with their gold, yellow blooms in early March or late February actually. So many of the trees along the inside of the terrace here are the columnar red maples. So it's a nice place to stroll. We also have an emergency strip garden, which is kind of a strange name for a garden, but it's a strip between the two safety paths here that you'll see as you approach. And it's full of annuals, dwarf daffodils during the spring, and some very nice alliums, the Millennium alliums, which have a colorful gold, rather lavender flower in July. And again, the alliums the deer will not touch. And the deer have free roam all over this area, so we have to watch what we plant here. Just wanted to point out this flowering tree in the corner of the youth terrace at the Bloomfield Township Public Library. This is the Coosa dogwood, an Asian type dogwood tree that flowers in June, and actually the flowers will stay on into the fall. It's another very interesting tree. This particular variety is called Heartthrob, and typically it has pink flowers, but because we had heat earlier in this spring, the color washed out and it's more of a white color. There are some Coosa dogwoods that have white flowers, and there's a group of 6 of them along the driveway into the library on your right-hand side as you're approaching the library. This Coosa dogwood will also produce a fruit that looks like a giant strawberry, and it will be hanging on the tree into the fall, and the birds are attracted to it for the seeds that are within the fruit. And there's also some fall color with the foliage. The foliage on the Coosa dogwood will become a gold color, sometimes tinges of red and pink also. So it's a great hardy tree to use in your landscape, and there's a prime example here and the 6 along the driveway entrance to the library. This is the east side of the library building, and we had a very challenging situation here. Because of the architecture, the roof comes out with a very large overhang, and the glass walls invert toward the interior of the library. So we had this open space where nothing would grow because of the lack of moisture during the year. So we developed a rock garden. This is a Zen type garden with boulders that mimic mountains, and the gray stone as a bed of seabed. So this whole area where nothing would grow typically because of the situation, because of the environment here, we did this rock garden, and it's very viewable from the glass walls inside the library. So this is a good indication of what can be done in situations where there's architecture and there's no way a plant will grow there. Here we are in the outdoor reading terrace at the library, and this is a very nice secluded area. It's shady, and we have many hedges. We have boxwood hedges around the perimeter, the Varda Valley boxwood, which has a larger bluish-green leaf to them. Along the long fence, we have a hedge of the Virginia sweetspire, Itea virginicus, which has dangling white flowers, very fragrant during the summer. And this particular variety of Itea is called Henry's Garnet. It has a very nice garnet red or burgundy colored foliage through the winter. The leaves change to that color. And in the center, in the circle here on the terrace, is a forest pansy redbud tree. And the forest pansy redbud tree has burgundy foliage and real bright pink flowers in the spring before the foliage comes out. We chose that tree because one of the trustees who I was working with when we were doing the design for this garden didn't want to have a piece of sculpture in the circle, so we decided on a very interesting tree, and we came up with the forest pansy. And not only does it have the flowers, but it also has the burgundy foliage, which kind of echoes the color of the pavement here in the terrace, kind of a reddish burgundy brick coloration. We also have annuals here that we plant during the summer, and we have tulips that we use in the springtime, plant them in the fall for the springtime. So it's a very relaxing setting here, and it's enjoyable as you come through the library to enter. Here we are on the east campus lawn of the library, and behind me are some very majestic trees. They're very stately, and they're actually cousins to the redwood trees in California. These are dawn redwood trees, and these were recently, well, within the past 50 years, introduced to the United States from China. The dawn redwood is actually a conifer. It produces little cones, but it does have needles, and it does drop the needles for the winter. They're called a deciduous conifer, and they get to be huge trees. They like to grow in wet soils, and they're very nice, colorful foliage in the fall, kind of a coppery orange tinge to the needles. The one directly behind me with the gold foliage is called Ogon, O-G-O-N, and it's a variety with the gold foliage, and that particular tree is a memorial tree here for someone associated with the library. But you can see the buttress trunks of the dawn redwood, how they flare out, and they just are a fast-growing tree. They have to grow in full sun, but they will grow in ordinary garden soil and grow much quickly if you have them planted near a lake or a stream or very wet soil. So these particular larger ones behind me were planted when the library was developed 52 years ago here in Bloomfield Township. We're on the northwest campus lawn at the library, right near the sign, which is a very nice polished black coloration stone, and we highlighted that with some very nice black river stone, and behind that we have some Annabelle hydrangeas. The Annabelle hydrangeas have the white globe-shaped flower heads in July, and the white is a nice contrast to the black sign. The large topiary tree is a Cinderella crabapple, and it has white flowers in the spring. And we also have some giant allium, purple globe-shaped flowers that come up before the Annabelle hydrangeas flower in this section. And behind me there are some golden nugget barberries, which are that nice gold-colored foliage all through the summer. It's a very nice shrub, and we like it because the deer don't bother it. The deer don't touch it at all, and primarily because of the thorns. We're on the campus lawn, the northeast section of the library, and behind me the very bushy plants that are about 5 or 6 feet tall now. They're called bush clover. They're not flowering now, but in late September, early October, they just have a magnificent cascading effect of purplish pink flowers. It's just a real showstopper when they're flowering. And again, this bush clover, Lespedeza, is the botanical name. They are deer resistant. The deer will not touch them. The tree here to my side is called the black gum or the sour gum, and notice the highly glossy green foliage. It's just amazing how nice it looks during the summer. It has very structural, architectural branch structure. They're tiered, the branches are tiered when they grow, and the fall color is just amazing. It's red, scarlet, brilliant, brilliant color in the fall. It's a very easy tree to grow, and they're just not that common, but they're around if you look for them.